types of culture have you experienced in the workplace? And do leaders shape culture? So, who's had an experience of culture in the workplace?
I think you and I, Amanda, probably can connect on the culture that Starbucks creates for us, especially being long-term partners. When I watched the Zappos video about, he talked about his coworkers are like people he genuinely wants to hang out with, and like good people. I felt that a lot at the leadership conferences that we went to. I don't know if you were a part of those. For Bobby and Sarah who don't know, Starbucks a couple of times in its history sent all their store managers to one spot for a week. We had a leadership conference. There was different classes and courses and seminars to listen to and activities to kind of go through about all different parts of our job, and lots of different speakers and speeches, one of which Howard Schultz spoke to everybody. And it's just being there, we're like in a whole basketball auditorium or arena, and we took off for like the entire lower bowl. So it was like crazy. It was like 10,000 people, Starbucks people.
Yeah.
And it was so cool. It was, the energy was pulsating. It was contagious how cheesy we were and how awesome everybody loved it. It was really a fun environment to be around. And for me, I had a moment that I was like, wow, like these are people that genuinely have my same integrity and share the same values almost. And it was really neat to be around a company that fosters that and kind of felt connected with everyone, even though you only knew about, 20 people there.
Yeah.
I will definitely agree. Starbucks came immediately to mind as I was reading this chapter. There's a few things, and it's like, as I kept reading terms, I was like, Starbucks really, it's like they wrote this chapter. They do a great job. Language came to mind, how we call ourselves partners. Simply, for those of you who don't know, instead of a Starbucks employee, everyone is considered a partner. And I think that Starbucks has always encouraged really open communication, from any level of employee. And that's something that term communicates to me. It builds trust, and it shows that they do have concern for their employees. And then from the value standpoint, the changes in the dress code that they had recently, where they let people express themselves more, you can have your nose pierced, you can have tattoos that show, you can have any color hair that you want. And it really just shows that they care a lot about their employee. And it just reminds me of something, like a quote of Howard Schultz that always sticks with me, is that the experience of the customer will never outweigh the experience of the partner. And I think that Starbucks has done a really great job of creating an organizational culture that supports that idea.
Yeah. I kind of lack organizational cultural experience because I work from home and I'm very independent. So the only experience I have was when I had student jobs working at a restaurant type of place, and the manager was a very bad leader. He stole from the owners, took advantage, and others also did the same. Those are her values she instilled in other employees. It's not their money. Might as well take extra food and stuff. So it was very negative and toxic organizational culture. That's really the only experience I ever had, since I do work independently. Much more I can contribute to my experience wise.
Mm-hmm.
What
about you?
I'm sorry?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry, what'd you say?
My turn?
Oh, nothing. I was just going to see if Bobby had any experiences.
Most of my experience, I've had several jobs where I really experienced good culture was when I worked for Nordstrom. I worked there probably the longest of any company that I'd worked for. And just the way that they treat their employees. And even when you brought up the partners thing, I'm like, I didn't remember what we called each other. Like, we weren't called employees. There was like, I don't know that there was a word for it. Like, I wouldn't refer to you as like a sales, like one of my salespeople. Like, you just work with me.
Mhm.
But they really do create a very strong culture. They have the open door policy. If I wanted to email Blake Nordstrom, I could email Blake Nordstrom. Like, I never would, but I could if I wanted to. And not only that, it's just even when controversial things come up, like socially or politically, like they would always send out emails letting their employees know that they support them. They'd always say something when DOMA got repealed, they sent out a mass email to the entire company. When the Trump ban happened, they sent out an entire email to the whole company saying, we support you. Make sure you reach out to HR services. We have special teams set up to help any of the families that are going through anything. So they really did create like a culture that it made me enjoy working for that company. And to jump to the next point of the discussion, I do think that leaders are what instills the culture. Because like I've worked for companies where I'm like, okay, it's like not the best company to work for, but the person that I worked for made me enjoy working under them in that building. Whereas there's companies that have great culture. Like even at Nordstrom, I worked for leaders who weren't great at their jobs, and I could see past that, and I can see what the company had to offer and what values that they instilled in their workers that I enjoyed being there, and I was able to grow past that.
I think that's a good point. Like it kind of makes me think of like microcultures almost. You know, it's like there can be like the broad corporate culture in any business, but then every like department or store kind of has its own culture as well, and it's really the leader that influences that. When I was watching the videos from the lectures, the Zappos one, like first of all, it made me so happy because like their corporate office is so cool. Like I'm in Vegas, and so I was like, I know exactly where that is. I didn't see them before they moved downtown, but I thought it was really inspirational. Like one of my favorite things that their CEO said was, you know, it's like people talk about work-life balance, but it kind of indicates that work like can't be fun. And it's like it's all your life. And I was like, that's a really great like way to look at things, because I find myself sometimes where I'm like, geez, like I wish I could just go home. Like it's been like 10 hours. And it's like if I looked at it as in like this is my life and I'm enjoying what I'm doing, then you know maybe I would have a better outlook about that.
Something else really cool about their CEO is he doesn't have an office, and he's this part of everyone else. I don't know. I think that's really progressive, I guess, in a way, because especially in the U.S. Sorry, go on.
I had mixed feelings about that. From the outside looking in, I thought it was pretty cool. But if I was working in that office, I think I would be really nervous. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like that would also make me really nervous and just, yeah.
I thought the same thing, but I also think it's like being in that environment, the culture would be so different. Like you would just be used to it. It would be like the norm. Like it would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I like how he noticed or how he mentioned he was like, I get to hear all the conversations around me and like things like that. I was like, it really is like if you think about it, a great tactic.
Yeah,
like,
it is.
Yeah, like just so that you know what's happening in your business. Like
every gossip has a little bit of truth.
Exactly. As like at work, I try as much as possible to like do my admin work from the lobby, rather than like I'm actually like one of the few Starbucks stores where I have my own office, like separate from the back room. And so like I'm very isolated if I'm in my office and like I don't really know anything that's going on. So I try to like leave as much as possible so that I can be like out there and see what's happening.
I think it's really important.
Let's see. All right, what else do you guys think about how leaders shape culture?
I just think they're like one of the main driving forces. I mean, people follow in some way follow them and their actions. I mean, they set an example. They set a standard. Well, they're supposed to in a way.
Well, I think it's, again, I know we talk about Starbucks a lot in these group chats, but I want to bring up what happened back on the 29th of our sensitivity training, if you will. Starbucks, Howard made a big deal that this was important to our culture and our values as a company. This was not a marketing gimmick. This was not a unicorn frappuccino thing. This was something that really affected our company. And having a leader that really made an aggressive stand into what he thought that Starbucks needed to believe in and needed to embrace, was able to reach a lot of employees, even in the individual stores. You know what I mean? Not just the people in Seattle or the people, working at headquarters. Like, this affected the 8,000 plus stores that closed. And, I know I felt it all the way over in Maryland, across the country. So I think having a leader that is as charismatic as Howard Schultz and has that relentless attitude to really stand true to their beliefs, I think is important, especially to lead a company, I think, from a smaller company to a big, massive corporation, because his messaging has to transcend across the country. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a hard thing to do. We're not talking about I think I meant to say these microeconomic or microclimates.
He's an amazing speaker. Insanely.
Crazy ridiculous. I think people were trying to throw panties at him the last time I saw him speaking. Like, he is really just, you sit there just gobbling it up.
Yeah. Like, if I could have a piece of his public speaking skills, I would be so happy. He is insane. Insanely good.
And I know other leaders do that as well. I think I know in a previous class we did a little brief study on Southwest and Herb Keller. I forget his name. Herb, I think is his first name. Just about what a difference his leadership made in Southwest. Bringing this small little homegrown airline from Texas to now a huge major competitor, within the States, and him being that different type of leader that embraces that you can have fun at work culture, kind of like Zappos did, and also be good at your job. You know what I mean? You don't have to sacrifice happiness for success. It can be one and the same. And I think that customer service kind of transcends. Their employees believe that, and it transcends to their customer service.
Definitely.
Sorry.
I like how you were mentioning how Howard Schultz does a great job of getting his message down to the stores. And I think it kind of relates to the secondary mechanisms that they mention in chapter 8, like structure, kind of systems and procedures. But we have a lot of great interweb kind of things at Starbucks. So the hub is great for communication, where every partner gets the same communication. And then we also have things like workplace and work chat. And so I think that the technology that the company has really helps them communicate their corporate culture.
And he's adaptable. If you refer back to the chapter, how adaptability is an essential part about leadership and organization and culture.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a few minutes left. The only part of the prompt that I don't think we touched on, I know, Sarah, you mentioned it a little bit, but talking about a negative cultural experience.
Yeah. It was quite bad. And eventually the business did fold. I'm not going to say it's completely the manager's fault. The owner, of course, should have been there. And Pittman maybe picks hire a better manager. I don't know. But she led a very poor example for everyone else. And everyone, besides me, because I knew the owner personally, honestly, I'm not lying. Everyone else followed and would like take extra sandwiches and just like little things like that added up, or just not clean the bathroom completely, just a little bit. And she was okay with it, and then everyone else was okay with it too. And the managers, and like she impacted the whole store. I don't know. She had a big impact. Even like I feel like people know that's wrong, but yet they still did it. And I don't know if it's because they did it because the boss said it was okay. Because morally, like that's stealing. That's wrong. So I don't understand. But maybe like leadership really does have that big of an impact.
No,
sorry, go on.
Oh, I said I think that's a great example of how you can like shape what's acceptable and what's not.
Yeah.
Like you really have to lead by example. So.
Yeah, you really do. It's true.
All right. Well, we are just about out of time. Do you guys have anything else to add before we end for the day?
Okay.
Perfect. Well, I'll go ahead and stop our broadcast. Thank you guys for all of your discussion.
Thank you.
Thanks.